Hey, Bayek, it's me, Ian. And in today's video, well, I'm going to do this. It's Barbarella from 1968. You may have seen some videos that I've put up, only a couple there. And I thought, well, I better get this reviewed, as they say, so that's what I'm going to do. Hey, yep. So, right, let's get into it. As I say, from 1968... it runs 98 minutes, which doesn't seem that long to me, but it's such a great film that when you're watching it, you just get so absorbed in it. Well, I do it anyhow. Now, I looked on, as usual, Rotten Tomatoes, and from what I'd sort of seen and heard and talked about it, I expected actually a bit higher. It's got 74% on it. With the critics, I think it is in some ways a very I don't know, a film that some people might look down on, some of the critics, because they would see it as, a bit sort of too way out pop culture-ish, just of that period of 1968, as if everybody was in a drug-infested haze watching it. And that's what the film is to some of people, I'm sure. So, not everybody's, appreciates particularly that period in history. I can think of a certain few other films and groups of music as well of that period where people would be quite, not really for them kind of thing, and looking down on it. It's like, I would describe this as fantasy, sci-fi kind of film, I suppose. It's difficult totally to pin it down. But, imagine, you could imagine all the snobs thinking, hey, we got 2001 out. And then they put this out. Hey, it's not proper sci-fi. Of course, the stuffy people would miss the whole point, as usual. Anyhow, let's get it down. Anyhow, it's directed by Roger Vadim, or Vadim, I think it would be. French director, screenwriter, artist, author, has quite a film catalogue, I think, starting with A God Created Woman in 1956, I think was one of his first films, and he carried on in his career. I've noticed, actually, he seemed to be very much, in his personal life, attracted to very beautiful women who were either married to or were partners. I was just looking, there's Brigitte Bardot, for instance. There was Jane Fonda, of course, who stars in this film. There was, Catherine Deneuve. Oh, man, she was also a partner of his. He's obviously very much... when he made this film, he was actually married to Jane Fonda as well. Yeah. Anyhow, there's that bit. I've just put that. And let's say the story, this again is a big clue, I think, is based on a comic book series called Barbarella by, again, we get this, Jean-Claude Forest. He was the writer of the comic, and it was obviously a major influence on this film. Now, also, the other important thing is, because it was filmed in Rome, it was produced by, it's such a big name, Dino De Laurentiis. I think Laurentiis, but you see his name. Apparently, he was involved in more than 500 films he produced and there's some great catalogue. So you've got the Italian influence there as well, and it was filmed in Rome. Now, the film, if you let's go through the cast. Yeah, with Jane Fonda, Barbarella. When we've got John Philip Law playing Pygar, we've got Anita Pallenberg, who plays the Black Queen. Incidentally, at the time, she was the girlfriend of Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones, who sadly died in July 1969. That's just an interesting musical connection. There are a few musical things going on in here as well. Then we've got Marcel Macri playing Professor Bing. I like Bing, like doing that. We've got Mila O'Shea playing, now here it is, Durand Durand. Yeah, we'll come back to that soon. And then a wonderful actor, a British actor who you see pops up everywhere in films, a lot of cult films, David Hemmings. He plays Dildano. Now, he was involved in a lot of English films, but also a lot of Italian films, as we've seen. Great actor, and he's in this film as well. There are other members of it, I'll just give you that. Now, I think this is important. The costume designer is a French person called Jacques Fonterey, and he was very much involved in the costumes are so important in this film, I think, as well as the effects that they make. I mean, that's the other thing. When you look at the effects that the director is using and creating this world, this comic book world in a way, it's like a cartoon as well, almost. A living cartoon. It's got all these sort of facets to it. Also, its design, its clever use of these like machines and technology, and yet it's all done in this certain way. The way it's drawn and portrayed, it's fantastic. There's some great ideas in this film, which it puts on screen, and if you buy into it and accept it, I can see some people say, "Hey, it's damn silly. I don't understand this." If you put all that aside and just sit back and enjoy it, it's actually a wonderful film. There's a lot of really humour even in there, gags, and there's a lot in there. I mean, some people might criticise it and say, "Hey, it's not very deep, this film," and you could argue that it's style and over substance, that it's not very deep. It's not going to go into social, political issues, though some people might argue that you can find out if you're looking for it. But it's just a fun film. You just take it on that value. That's what's so great of it. I mean, the basic. I'll just say, I'm not going right deep into the plot. I'll just say what the premise is. It's about Barbarella, who's an astronaut from the future. And basically, she's sent on a mission to find and stop the evil scientist, Duran Duran, who has this invention which could lead to the destruction of the galaxy. Yes, so that's how it all begins. And we go into this wonderful world, and we meet all these characters. And certainly there were problems with the censorship as well in this, because from the very opening scene, there she is, Jane Fonda, as an astronaut, seems to be losing her suit, and you get nudity straight away, and that pops up throughout the film. Obviously, there were certain censorship problems, but it isn't just that as well. It's some of the sort of well, almost sadomasochist underlying things. Like there's this machine, um, and it's like a pleasure machine, and she blows it up, and it's absolutely it's funny as well. It reminds me of like in Woody Allen film Sleeper when he goes into the orgasmatron. I think he must have seen this idea from Barbarella. It's wonderful. It's so funny. But a lot of people didn't like that. And say Paramount, with the sci-fi boom with Star Wars in 1977, they reissued the film, cut out all the nudity, and called it Barbarella, Queen of the Galaxy. You see it on there? Yeah. But this is the totally uncut version. This is how it should be. It's a proper version. So we had that. Anyhow, that is the story, and this builds up this wonderful, crazy world that we have of Barbarella, in which she's in. She's almost like an innocent character, naive almost, but a good person. You see her as good. So some people might say she's morally not a good person. I don't know, but that innocence is great, and it's done in such a way. It's like a cartoon. As I say, it's got this cartoon almost thing about it. The violence is like that. It's great, but you look at looking at the sets, it's fantastic. And the other thing I like, it's a period piece I always say, by the music, yes. Now, the music was composed by Bob Crewe and Charles Fox. Bob Crewe's fame, I suppose, would be with the Four Seasons hit, Big Girls Don't Cry, which he wrote. He was also involved in this with a group of session musicians called the Bob Crewe Generation, and their vocals were from a New York group of people called the Glitter House. And the music is interesting, isn't it? You could easily identify. It's got like almost that 60s feel, bit of jazz kind of thing. And it's sort of almost psychedelic kind of music sort of stuff. It has that sort of feel of this, that you just know it's where it's from. It's interesting. It always makes me laugh. They're singing away. They're going about Barbarella and then going psychedelic. I think that's it. This is why people thinking, hey, this is a drugs film. They're immediately thinking everybody's on another planet watching this film. It just reflects that era, because the era was with a psychedelic. There's a lot of films I could think of, I don't know, Easy Rider, for instance, which have that psychedelic feel and music. Pink Floyd, their music in this period was very much in that, and a whole host of others that were into experimenting psychedelic music. So you have that kind of background, but it's always saying, hey, it must be drugs or something. Yeah, that's what they'll say. But anyway, as I say, the whole feel of the picture is it's just great experience. It's a journey, and I just love the visuals. The visuals are absolutely fantastic. I say, the influence of this film, I don't think was realised, but over the years, we've realised a lot of its influence, particularly in cultural references as well. An obvious one that stands out straight away is the group Duran Duran. This is where they got the name. I even found that Kylie on a track Put Yourself in My Place plays Barbarella. Oh, I've got to have a Kylie reference. Well, a day has to have a Kylie reference as well, doesn't it? Sometimes if you can find one. Well, I've got one there. I know, that's it. But there's lots of other artists, Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande, I think, of referenced Barbarella. As I said, designers, I think of all these uh, designers in clothes as well. You can see it all in this film. It's amazing. Like I'm not going to quite compare it with Blade Runner and its cultural influences, because Blade Runner has so many cultural influences and effects. I don't think this has quite that effect, but I think in terms of certain cultural things, it definitely has. And its directors. I mean, I can't believe the special effects, if you want to call them. I mean, in an era of CGI now, it's all taken for granted. But what they do, I mean, some of them may look rather naive, but that doesn't matter, because that is kind of, with the film, it fits that sort of cartoonish feel, I think, to the film. It gives it that, the comic book cartoon kind of feel. And that's great. But it is the design. This film is so designed. The director, you have to give so much credit to him for bringing it all out. And apparently it wasn't an easy shoot as well. He apparently was drinking. There were problems. Jane Fonda was going through a bulimic period about her weight, body image, and particularly this, if you look in terms of how she is interesting. So there were a lot of things going on as well in this film. But as I say, the influence is is amazing. I think one question I asked myself, thank heavens, but remakes. There has been several attempts, but they haven't come out. But don't be surprised that one day somebody will do a remake of this. And I dread to think what the remake will be like. They'd have to totally reimagine this, because there's no way it could even touch this film. You almost don't want to know, but you know how it is nowadays. There's always some talk of remakes, and hopefully that won't happen. Just a quick word about this. It's brilliant Blu-ray transfer. This was in 2012, this transfer, and it's absolutely fantastic. I sat there just watching this on the TV, on 4K TV, and wow, it's amazing. Maybe that explains why there hasn't been a 4K, but it's Paramount. There may be a chance of a 4K on this. Imagine, that'd be interesting. But yeah, highly recommended. The extras are not brilliant. There's commentary on it and a trailer. So again, it's open for somebody to do a bit more delving into this film. But I'm very happy with this. It's the first time I've ever owned it. I've seen it over the years going back, and something I've grown and enjoyed quite a lot. And who wouldn't? Look, there we are. Barbarella from 1968. So, there we are. All we got to say is, as usual, please subscribe if you want to be notified about when I do these videos. If you like this, please subscribe. Well, just press the button and say you like it. And it costs no. Just give it a like. Thank you. Great. And all I've got to say is, I'll see thee, and I'll see thee again.